Hi guys, my name is Naufal. As you guys can see, I'm going to present my materials, which is sales management. Okay, without further ado, let's get it on. Okay, the first, I want to elaborate my subtopics. There are 5 apparently. Number 1 is definition and sales stages, and then sales goals and process, sales organization, sales technique, and last, factors affecting sales activities. Okay, let's move on to the first subtopics, which is definition and sales stages. So according to Noonan, marketing management is incomplete without sales management. At the customer interface, the sales staff is in charge of putting marketing strategy and techniques into action. Leading a team of door-to-door salespeople is no longer the norm in modern sales management. Okay, we're going to break down the sales stages step by step. So the number 1 is prospecting. Prospecting and qualifying, sometimes known as prospecting and selling, used to be part of sales process when salespeople had to personally hunt for information on, on potential clients. Number 2 is pre-approach. Market research and gathering all essential data about your product or service. You should now construct your sales presentation and personalize it into specific needs of your target client. Number 3 is approach. Establishing connections, displaying empathy, and maintaining eye contact. For example, as a result, this stage usually entails creating a positive and lasting first impression, which should be maintained throughout the relationship in order to deliver improved and ongoing customer value. Number 4 is presentation. Identify the unspecified elements of a product or service that could satisfy the customer's implicit needs at a higher level. Demonstrate how your product or service meets the needs of your potential customer. Number 5 is handling objections. So every sales situation will eventually bring up client worries and objections, so therefore salespeople should expect them. Each of these situations presents a unique chance for the salesperson to not only solve problems but also to give novel and helpful solutions. Number 6 is closing. Delivering value and meeting the needs of the client. Understand that they must collaborate with customers to ensure maximum value and provide the groundwork for long-term mutually beneficial relationship. And lastly, but definitely not least, follow-up. The follow-up step allows you to stay in touch with the customers after they've made a purchase, not only for potential repeat business, but also for referrals. Maintaining relationships is critical since retaining current clients is 6 to 7 times less expensive than obtaining new ones. And we move on to the second subtopics, which is sales goals and process. According to Kane and Zapula, in order to achieve goals, you have to evaluate whether you've been successful in accomplishing your objectives, as well as assist you in planning the best path to get there. The best objectives have 3 characteristics. They are specific, appropriate, and measurable. I'd prefer to abbreviate it to SAM. So SAM objectives enable them not only to set targets but also ensure that they accomplish some things meaningful throughout every client engagement. So SAM objectives give the kind of focus that saves time and ensures that salespeople are having productive interactions with customer, and as a result are able to add value to the sale. Okay, I'm going to elaborate what is SAM. So S stands for specific. So specific objectives describe precisely what you aim to achieve. Top performers make the most of laying out clear, short-term goals. In this case, we're talking about a goal that has to do with the very next client engagement you'll have. Consider what you want to achieve by the conclusion of the engagement and what success looks like at this stage of the process. The most important thing is that the goal has to be specific. You should be able to glance back after each call and immediately see if you've achieved your goal. Setting clear and detailed goals allows you to evaluate if you're making the kind of development you want to be making. Top-performing salespeople assess their progress by determining what it means to achieve their objectives. And A stands for appropriate. Top-performing salespeople recognize that precision is pointless if the goal isn't suited for that particular sales engagement. So setting clear goals that are appropriate for where you and your customer are in the sales process is the key. Having said that, you understand that choosing what is and is not acceptable is sometimes the most difficult components of goal setting. Set to know where you are in the sales process and how a given situation is unfolding. It might be difficult to discern whether the targets you're setting are too weak or too strong. You must consider what can be completed under what conditions and whether your aim is achievable. M stands for measurable. Measurable aims refer to the quantifiable. Measurable aims refer to the quantifiable proofs that shows whether or not you've achieved your goals. Quantifiable evidence, we're not talking about hearsay. Measurable goals help you to track your progress as you work your way through the sales process. When it comes to speeding up the sales process and completing more deals, the adage you can manage what you can measure holds true. And top-performing salespeople understand that evaluating progress toward objectives is vital. They assist you in focusing and planning ahead of time for each and every consumer engagement. This type of preparation allows you to pinpoint exactly where you want to take each consumer each time you meet. We move on to the next subtopic, which is sales organization. So these are the you guys can see sales organization, often known as the sales force, plays a critical part in their growth, development, profitability, and impact on customers, whether trade or direct. It may represent only one department or division within a company organization, and it may have a small number of employees in comparison to total employees, particularly in manufacturing industries, but it is a valuable resource that must be nurtured, developed, and motivated to reach its full potential, both within the company and in the external market. And here are the sales organization. So marketing strategy objectives is to marketing goals and market share objectives, market segmentation and product positioning issues, target market sectors, marketing communication, reaching target market. Sales strategy is to identifying and servicing trade customers or product users, market coverage objectives, distribution channel needs of each level of the distribution chain, market distribution infrastructure. And we move on to sales technique. What is sales technique? According to Dubinsky and Rodelius, preparation for selling, the personal selling process, and sales obligations are all covered in sales technique. So the sales environment examines the institutions through which sales are made, including industrial, commercial, and public sector selling, as well as resale sales. 5, yes, this is the last subtopics. Number 5, factors that affect sales activities. Number 1, sellers' conditions and abilities. The conditions and capabilities of the seller consist of understanding several important issues related to the product, which is location, store atmosphere, payment methods, and promotions. Number 2, market conditions. The market is a place for buying and selling transactions. In other words, a place for transactions between the seller and the buyer, as the seller's main destination to offer his product to the buyer. Number 3, capital. Capital is the right or share owned by the owner of the company whose capital, retained earnings or profits, or excess assets owned by the company against its debts. Number 4, company organizational conditions. Basically, large companies will divide their separate functions in their business operations. In other words, each sections will be handled by people who are experts in the field of sales. This is done to facilitate the operational supervision of the business. There you are, guys. Thank you for your attention. Lastly, goodbye.